Welcome back to Unique Minds of the Okanagan. I'm Robb and we're on location in Kelowna with Salem. He's a local electronic artist and a extremely creative mind that I cannot wait to dive into. So,
Perfect.
how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, thank you.
No problem. Thanks for coming and doing this. It's always fun to get to talk to different style of artists,
Yeah.
and I'm really excited to pick your brain on this one. So, I apologize ahead of time if it's geeky. Why don't you tell the people who you are, where you're from?
Salem, I'm from Kelowna. I'm an electronic music producer. Just started a group last year called Arcane Underground. So it's a group between me and my friend Panda Inc., Chris Smith. And it's been a fun little project that we're doing. Mostly drum and bass oriented and stuff like that. So we're trying to create a different style is what we're going for right now.
Perfect. How did you first get into electronic music and wanting to produce it?
Oh, that would have been many, many years ago. First event, festival that actually sparked a lot of that, hey, I want to do this kind of thoughts was an event called Astral Harvest. And that was one of the first events they did, I think, back in like 2005.
Wow.
So quite a long time ago, but it was like one of their first ones. So it was really cool. And I just to see all the different DJs and artists and talented people. And I'm like, I like this. I really want to be a part of this. So it kind of started off my musical journey that way. And then that one's in Driftpile, Alberta, so it was quite a ways away from home. So it was pretty cool.
Fair enough.
First big road trip too.
That's funny. So getting into producing electronic music, how does one decide I want to make robot noises to drum beats? And two, how does someone get good at it?
Well, getting started's relatively easy. You just gotta, there's quite a few different like studio programs that you can go with, Fruity Loops being one of the main ones. I use Ableton. I find it a little bit more user friendly. As part of going about learning this stuff, if you can do like classical music, like lessons and stuff, knowing instruments definitely helps as well. Like I
Music
like
theory,
about it.
yeah.
Music theory is a big one. Took me a while to learn music theory. I'm still learning a bunch about it right now. Over the past year, 2 or 3, I've been dabbling into just different styles, trying to find my own little niche, and I find drum and bass is quite fun to make. So like going about it would be like, I've had a few teachers over the past just kind of show me like the basics of things and why things are the way they are and how to do certain things to make them sit well in your mix kind of. And then just YouTube videos of different things that I want to learn how specific things work, I guess. But yeah, just trying to find some creative people. It is a community, so we like if you reach out to people, myself included, we can always give answers or tips and stuff like that. So it's pretty good. I've had a pretty good, solid foundation of like people in my community who've been helping me over the years. I wouldn't get too far as I am right now if I didn't have the people in my life
Right.
showing me stuff. So it's been great.
So when you start first initially like creating a new track, so like we're opening up the DAW, you got a brand new slate. What's the first thing that you tackle and how do you go about it?
Drums, and I go about it in kind of a creative way. I'm a pretty good beatboxer, so I'll sit there and I'll just come up with a couple different like drum patterns with my mouth and stuff, and then I'll be like, I like that one, and then I'll try to find the instruments that are pretty close to it, and then you can add different things like different effects to hi-hats and stuff and make them kind of lasery, or like reverb is a really good one for distance as far as like seeing how far instruments sound apart. Panning's another good one for like keyboards on the right and like cellos on the left, and it's like the way I kind of go about it is I think about like a big room or like a stage, like a band playing almost in a way. So like you kind of figure out where your instruments are sitting on the stage, and that'll be like your panning, and then like how far back they are would be like your reverb. So like keeping in mind with that, you can use different calculators and stuff like that, but I've been mostly just going by ear. But you can get really in depth. Like as far as
Yeah.
electronic music goes, you can go like down that rabbit hole, and it can take you quite a bit of time. But trying to find a good workflow is probably the best. Is start out with like a 16 bar loop, and then just make your drums, and then start adding like instruments and melodies over top of that. And then I build my tracks kind of backwards, so I'll build my main chunk of my bones and structure and everything that I want in that track, and then I'll kind of copy paste that, and then I'll just subtract things going backwards to create my intro, my breakdowns, and then like my actual drop. I'll actually start like adding like my bass lines and different bass patches and elements, and writing out things for like As far as like if I want like a rolling bass line with a sub bass going that way, or if I want to like have more dotted or noted notations and stuff like that for creating different flow elements as far as structures go. But yeah, it's a process. It usually takes me a couple days to actually get like the girth of what I want down. But usually drums first is a good start for most people. I think that's pretty standard.
Do you ever find that you start with a drum beat, start making a melody, and then realize the drum beat is something not that you wanted?
Yeah, so I'll end up changing a lot of things along as I go. Or like this like hi-hat pattern no longer goes with the melody, so I'll like switch that up and make it a bit more gentle. So
Yeah.
like it's good to start with like as much going on in the first 16 bars when you're making a track, and then like kind of subtract what doesn't fit in
Yeah.
a way. Like my teacher basically taught me was like you make kind of music by subtracting elements more than what you actually do by adding them.
When you're creating music, do you find that there are specific sounds that you tend to steer towards, like your favorite instruments that you will find and use
Harps
over
are
and over?
big. Yeah, harps are really big with me. I like things with strings. Violins are really nice. Guitar sounds super good in electronic music. It's very like artists called like Moontrix and stuff. They have like live instruments in a lot of their music. I do want to like incorporate a bit more of that as well. There's another artist, Long Watch Short Talk, and he's pretty well known for his live action sets, and he goes pretty
Yeah.
thrashing pretty hard, and like, he's one of my big inspirations as far as that goes. But yeah, like just anything that's kind of catchy and different. Right now I'm kind of working on a Norse themed album, so like I've been taking like a lot of those classical instruments from that time period, and then I'll try to incorporate it into like some drum and bass or what other genres I might be sitting in with at the time. So like anything that's really catchy, things from across the world. I don't really so believe in like sitting in like a genre niche of things how they should sound. It's more like what I feel at the time that I want to incorporate in it. Like I find something like beautiful, like some Asian melodies or something like that, and I'll try to like incorporate those into them tastefully. And you gotta respect other people's cultures when you're doing that too as well. Like you can't just be like,
Yeah.
yeah,
I think it's kind of cool too that electronic music is not one of the only ones, but a lot of electronic music uses sounds and instruments, melodies from all over the world
all over the world. That's what
and
I love.
blends it. And it kind of works with a lot of different things. Like hip hop works with it, like you said, guitar works with it. There's a lot of different because it's such a worldly music. I feel like everyone
Yeah,
can vibe to electronic music if they find the genre that fits them best.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like a lot of people, some people like relaxing stuff, so they can go with like live or lo-fi and like
yeah.
chill step and stuff like that. But like, I love metal. I love fast pace. So like D&B is it's right up my alley because it is very like I like to think of it as the metal of the electronic world.
Yeah,
It's fast paced. It's heavy. It's got its breakdowns and the cool thing about electronic music too, I find, is you can blend the genres
yeah.
multiple ways to a point where you're not even
Like sticking
in
to a niche
yeah,
almost.
right,
Like
like
there's a certain
you're
structure for that. Like as far as like drum and bass goes, there's patterns and things that you like rules that you kind of have to follow to make it actual drum and bass. But you can have fun with it and you can add different elements and stuff and kind of make it your own. And that's kind of what I love, like music and electronic music in general, because like drum and bass has everything. You got funk, you got chill, you got reggae, you got like jump up, you have neuro bass, you have like a whole many different palettes of things that you can choose from, or you can mix and match everything from anything. And what I
yeah.
love about like electronic music is, like you said, it's like around the whole world. The Norse album I'm working on actually uses a lot of like jaw harps and like throat singing. So it's
Cool.
been really fun to work with throat singing and stuff and just kind of incorporating that. And there has a very deep and almost like tribal kind of sound to it. So it's been super fun.
I think that'd be real cool.
Yeah.
And you showed me some of the songs and it's totally different than what I'm used to hearing. So it's really cool.
But as far as like getting it out there, it is not the hard part. It's getting it heard.
Yeah,
So
and because there is such
a big
a
pool.
flooded market,
Yeah.
right? And it has been for years. But I think that you constantly see new DJ names coming up
Yeah.
and new people still getting picked up. It's I found that being creative in a industry where there's so many people pushing
Who are also creative.
that are creative,
Yeah.
right? It's like it's almost more difficult to be an electronic artist than it is to, like, say, be in a band.
Yeah.
Like I've struggled big, especially with, like, trying to get people to enjoy your mixes and stuff. Like at first, like, not just to hear the idea, because the idea is awesome and you get hyped on the idea, but if it's not there, it's like production wise, people kind of just push it to the side, and because they can go listen to something better.
Yeah, especially like mastering your mixes. It took me a while to figure out how to get close to like industry standards, and I'm still learning how to like push up some of my levels so that they sit well with like something that's compared to like say like Dimension or Graphics or something like that as other DMB artists. That's kind of where I take a lot of like my inspiration from. But like a mastered mix can be all the difference between like some kid making a beat on like Ableton, and then it kind of sounds flat. It could be a great track, but if it doesn't have the presence and sound quality that people are looking for, it might get like overlooked. That was a big problem in the beginning of like my production kind of story. But yeah, the more you learn, the more you go, you kind of figure out what the industry standard is as far as making things sound clear, crisp, and like sitting well in the mix. Like if you have your drums and they all sound really good, but none of them are playing nice with each other, it can sound a bit hectic, or things could sound too layered. So that's where the whole subtraction of things kind of come along, where like you figure out what's actually needed in your track.
Yeah.
And what's actually going to make it shine kind of, in a way.
Yeah, and I think that it's like it takes a specific person to be able to hear that kind of stuff too, right? Because like I'm good at being able to make melodies, drums, like get the song structure there, but to get it not to sound flat, or that it's like there's no life to it. Yeah. I guess the best way to put it.
Organic would be a
yeah,
word.
It sounds muddy, and you know what I mean? Like it's just like it's never there. And it takes a special person to be able to make music that is like that. It's not just like, you can't just be shown it or YouTube it. Like you can, but it takes trial and error.
YouTube's hard because I have a lot of questions, and I usually have to go to comments to figure out the people that ask the same question. So I'm like spending an hour or two just figuring out what question was answered. Like I can't directly like message the artist and be like, hey man, I probably could, but like the odds of them answering back.
Like there's like to learn guitar.
Yeah.
You can pick up a guitar book. Yeah. Learn the basic chords and same piano and all that. But there's no like there's no EDM for dummies book. Yeah. There might be, but like you know what I mean? Like it's something that like
trial and error.
It is a lot of trial and error, and I think that it's hard. It is a hard thing, and I think that a lot of people appreciate it for making them move, but don't get to appreciate it for how hard and how much work goes into a single song. Yeah. Even before the putting it out there and the marketing and the advertising and getting it actually heard, but like from creation to being mastered, there's a lot. Like,
well, almost like electronic music and becoming a producer kind of like ruined almost in a way like listening to it, because like now as a producer of mine, I'm listening to the track. I'm like, okay, well, how did they do that? What LFO rates? When like how they structured this drop, and like what patches they might be using, and like how different sounds go into different sounds. So I like take a lot of inspiration. Oh, I really like that. I wonder if I can recreate that in my own work, and like just hearing different artists and what they do is just, it's fascinating in a way. But like, yeah, it's like really hard to listen to music now without like approaching it with like an analytical mind about it and like how they do things. Yeah. But some tracks like I just listen to because like I just love them, and just what they've done with it. It's so good. I do love my music, and I will listen to it on repeat some days, just because like I'm just stoked that I created something really cool, that's different from like a lot of people that I've heard. So I'm like, this is great. I love it. And I'll listen to it till the death. And just like at some point I'm like, okay, that's enough, like let's get it out to the world, and 10,000 loops later I'm ready for it. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, no, I often like can't stand my music by the time it's actually released, and then you've got to start performing it, and then you're like, oh man. So it's almost like the production aspect kind of like, although it kills that stoked, but then once you hear that final mix, and it's like it all of a sudden it all comes back. Like it doesn't matter how much you've worked on it, it comes back at the end, and you're like so amped.
how you see it like perform on the dance floor, and you actually see people moving and wiggling to your music, and you're like, okay, like it actually makes people dance. It actually people, like people are liking it, and you're just like,
Yep.
that's a good feeling. It's just like, even though I've listened to this to like the point of repetition where it's just like to me, like seeing someone else enjoy it fully, it's just like, that's why I do it, just like create movement and like people dance and just, you know, enjoy it and like vibe out to it. It's like the best feeling, I think.
Going from an individual artist, like an independent artist who creates music, what's it like to do EDM with a second person?
Well, I'm the producer as far as like things go in our music. Pan is a fantastic DJ, and I've known him for quite a long time, and he always brings amazing sets and different styles, and like he's more love and peace, that kind of energy, like really like happy feeling, like get your body moving, and I'm more of like I guess like kind of like rolling rhythms and stuff like that, and like creating movement in that way. So like when we mix a lot of our styles together, as far as when we DJ, it's a bit of blend of both of us. So like it's been pretty fun, and like we work really well together and flow pretty well together. So like it's been good.
So when you're producing it, do you both work on melodies and drums and
Well, I make all the music and stuff as far as that goes, but I'll send him like things like along the way, like does this work? Does this suck? Like what do you think we should do with this? So he has a lot of input as far as like the finished outcome of a track will
Okay.
come. So he's very music minded. He understands music theory quite well. So like I trust and value his opinion
That's
because
awesome.
we're a group effort.
Realistically, if you think of how long EDM has been around for,
Yeah,
it is a super young community
yeah.
compared to a lot of the other musics
Where
that
like
have
hip
been
hop's been
around
around
for.
like 60s, 70s almost.
Well, like
Right?
hip hop's been around since the 80s.
Yeah,
You know what I
80s.
mean? And metal's been around since God knows how long. And then rock and roll, and then you have like jazz, and they all have
Established
at
for a long
least
time.
at least a good amount of time to establish themselves to become what is accepted in culture.
Yeah.
At all points, those music, all of that genres
When they
were
were
not
first
accepted.
beginning, when they were first beginning, they're like, "What is
Jazz
this?" Like,
was the
rock and
devil's
roll was
music.
the devil's music
Exactly.
too, right?
So like it becomes, you've got to establish, like, music itself has to create its culture. And I think that because like the 90s rave scene was very like driven behind like a negative connotation or a lifestyle that was brought up, but like the music, it wasn't about the music as much as we're like early 2000s, 2010 area is when you really started to see artists becoming artists with electronic music, and that's when it blew up. Locally, we had Excision, we had Datsik, we had Downlink, who were main contenders in the dubstep movement.
Well, that's when dubstep first come out. Like a lot of people were like,
Exactly.
"What is this
What is
robot
this,
noise?"
right?
You know, like
But
I love dubstep, but like
realistically,
when it first came out, people were like, "Oh my gosh, what is it?" And then just to see that
I was so
progress,
confused.
like Skrillex and stuff came out, and like
Dude,
that was huge, and like using rock and
mind-blowing.
roll and punk, like it was
Yeah.
a huge fusion of stuff. Or you had like artists like Noisia and stuff, like creating new sounds and like new types of drum and bass that people have never heard, and it's like you just like, wow, what is this? But at the same time, you're like, what is this? You know, like,
Exactly. I'll be honest. Like,
I didn't like dubstep when it first came out,
when
but
I
like
first
as it
heard
grew up,
Nukem by
yeah.
Datsik, I was so confused. I was like, I have no clue what this is. Like,
Yeah,
no clue. It reminded me of something because I was messing around with FL at the time, but I wasn't understanding. Like, I never made wobbles. Right, I was focused on like trying to make rock songs with FL, which is terrible because it sounds so bad.
and then Skrillex came out and did it so good,
Right? But it's just so funny to see like the progression, and now all of a sudden it's like
kind of
it is a whole different thing, and the culture it is as being accepted globally, and it's not just like this little small market in the music industry anymore. It's like main contenders who are the biggest artists are EDM artists.
Yeah, for the most part nowadays, yeah.
It is a weird thing to see, like, I guess getting to live through the creation of a culture.
Like Shambhala, one of them. Like I remember going to that in the beginning, and it was like
10.
tiny, like 600 people. And nowadays, it's like 10,000 people.
It's
and you're like,
massive.
people like artists come across like the whole world, and people come across from the whole world
Like,
just
if
to
you
come
get-
to this event.
Yeah,
Like,
if you
it's
go to
huge.
Sham, like you're selected for Sham,
Yeah.
you know you hit.
Yeah, you hit a point.
Like,
That's kind of
you
always
hit
been.
it.
I think that's every like producer's goal in the Okanagan is like,
Yeah.
if I could play Sham, then it'd be great.
Right? That's kind of how we
But-
looked at AMF, and when we finally played it and standing on that stage, it was like,
Wow.
Honestly,
it's a good milestone for sure.
I still get goosebumps to be like, you know, like it's locally. That's local.
Yeah.
It's not like we're playing massive
Tomorrowland or
festivals.
something
Yeah,
like that.
but like
that's also a goal.
it takes so much work to be able to get on that stage
Yeah.
or those stages, and like
It's huge networking as well.
yeah, and it's just kind of cool to see like the evolution of like high society, for example. Like I remember playing one of their shows just after my first band broke up, and I was doing, I don't even know what I was doing, honestly. I think I was doing hip hop. I was doing a hip hop set, I think, and it was in like a rundown barn in the middle of nowhere, and it was like, you know what I mean? Like
I remember that.
I think back to it, and I'm like, man, that was like. Those are some of my favorite times, but now high society is putting on these massive shows.
Yeah, like
and they're,
Calix
like,
and TV was their like most is one coming up, I think.
So it's kind of like as we continually evolve as artists and we push our community, the community finally starts to get the recognition it deserves. And like, I'm not an EDM artist. I will never claim I am because I suck at doing it. I'm terrible at it. I can make some cool melodies and stuff, but like I wish I could make it sound solid and punchy because I would full bore with that because it would be fun. But I feel that as it evolves into these different subcultures and different elements,
subgenres have been actually getting out of hand. I've noticed
it's kind of like metal where it's starting to get out of hand, right?
Yeah, well,
but
that's like what they did with mid-tempo. Like, it used to be like glitch hop, and then like all these like neuro hop, and like all these other like subgenres, and then just kind of like slammed it. No, it's all mid-tempo now.
Exactly, kind of gotta like, and I think that's the thing with like EDM and metal, because they're both, if you look at them, kind of in the sense where they're the symphonic elements of music today, like where like Beethoven would be writing electronic music. Like that's what I feel. I feel he'd be making electronic music.
I feel like Mozart
today.
would. Mozart would be a raver for sure.
All of them. Yeah, no, exactly.
He was a strange
guy. Exactly. So like, I feel like as like all these millions of subgenres are created by us just trying to be creative.
Well, that's where like the creativity part comes out, like taking that rule structure and then flipping it on its head and making something new, but following the same process as everyone.
Yeah.
But like you made it your own, and that's like what I'm trying to go for right now with my music. If like someone hears one of my tracks and they're just like going through some stuff, or they're like, you know, this is great, you know, this took my mind off it for a bit, then you know I'm kind of winning at that, right?
Yeah, and it's true. I like.
But yeah, fame and fortune would be nice, but you know that's not why I make what I make.
And I don't think like, I think the music industry is not really like, there's those overnight successes and those breakthroughs, but I don't think that's like I don't think that's really what, like those people will do anything to get to that point, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And
very
if you're,
competitive.
and if you're into music for being a musician, it's kind of like you
Sounds
almost got to
true.
accept you're never going to make it, but you're going to make it like in your area or to your fans.
Make it to what you want, right?
Right.
Whatever you get. But that's what I love about the electronic scene too. You kind of get what you put in.
Yeah.
Like if you just don't do anything and you're just making it for yourself, that's what it's going to be. Maybe the few odd people that you show it to will love it and stuff like that. But if you truly want to get heard, then you have to put yourself out there. You have to be like, get out of your comfort zone in that kind of way. Like me, like when I first started releasing tracks, I'm like, I just showed it to a couple people and stuff like that, you know, and like now I'm starting to approach labels and like think what like they want with it. Working on this Norse album right now, like once I'm finished with that, I'll probably have a good standing with a label that I've been trying to get on for a while with some friends. So that should be pretty fun.
When you're creating something, like, because initially it's supposed to be for you.
Yeah.
Like you're creating this thing because it helps you.
Yeah, it's my therapy.
It's your therapy, right? Exactly. So do you find that like it's difficult to create something sometimes that people resonate with, but it still resonates with you, so you kind of keep it like your own treasure?
Yeah.
And it's one of those unreleased songs, but to you it's like, you know, like super special, but people just, maybe it's too ahead of its time, or
it's too different, or like it's not following the same mainstream rules as everybody else is. And to a degree, yeah, like I try to always keep my art for myself, like in what I'm doing, but you know, the more that you learn and as you go along, and as far as like structure wise goes and just following certain patterns of what works for other people, you can make your own art, but at the same time you can make it in a way that it's going to appeal to other people, because as a musician, that's kind of what you want. Yeah, you're making your art, but if nobody wants to listen to it,
right,
you know,
it becomes
it's good. It's only
thing.
for me then, and then it'll just be for me. But I do want to make people dance. I want to make people, you know, remember a catchy hook that I did, or that bass line's really cool, like, or this is like really awesome, like a Norse themed album with drum and bass. I haven't heard that before, so I figured I'd tackle it. You know, like just try to create something that's gonna make people move, but at the same time be like, whoa, you know, like.
Yeah.
So it's a bit up and down. Like you have to find a certain balance as far as that goes. Even as like a creative mind, well, what am I gonna do now? What am I gonna do next? And how is this gonna work for me? But at the same time, is it gonna be danceable or, you know, recognizable or something that people can be like, oh, I heard this other artist do something similar. I really like that other artist. Well, this guy's pretty cool, you know, too, right? So like you kind of branch out in a way that people will remember you as far as you're different and you're creative and you have your own sound. It took me a couple years to actually kind of find like where I want to sit in my own sound, is like what I've developed over the years. And that just comes from trial and error. I want to make people move. I want to be remembered for what I do, and, you know, make people feel things through my music.
And I think that's the hardest thing is like the Beatles aren't legendary because they focused on as the song finished.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think the Beatles are legendary because like they did what they did. They felt like it was true.
What was comfort zone, but at the same time found a sound that was catchy.
And I think that goes with everyone who's really become like a legend. Because I think at the end of the day, that's all we really want, is to be our music to last. Like every artist, I don't think you'll ever meet somebody who's going to say, no, I don't want my music to last as long as
or
Beethoven
people that
or
don't know who the
Mozart.
Beatles are. It's very rare you find someone who doesn't know the Beatles. Like
right?
my favorite track, "Lonely People," has been remixed thousands of times in different ways, you know, and that's what I love about like electronic music too, is you can take something from the past that you love growing up or something from an artist, and you can put your own twist on it, you know. Like I have a few remixes that I've done of some famous artists that like favorite artists that I've done, and, you know, just kind of put my own kind of twist on it, and I enjoy those tracks so fully, and I'll remember them forever. You know, like whether or not they work for other people, you know, those are the tracks that, you know, I kind of made for myself in a way. You know, like, yeah, there's been a few really good ones.
What advice would you give these aspiring young artists who are trying to get themselves to a point where they can figure out their sound, they can be themselves?
The best thing as far as like a learning aspect goes is like we're a big community of people, you know. The more people you network with, the other artists that you connect with, you know, and just like learn different things. Ask as many questions as you can. There'll be some people that are like gatekeepers and they're like, oh, I'm not going to tell you that stuff. But find some people, you know, that are like willing to help you, you know. Like I wouldn't have gotten as far as I have without like the various artists that have been showing me stuff along the way, you know, and I'm so super grateful for that. YouTube can get you pretty far, you know, as understanding like the basics of stuff, but like you could reach that one point where like why. So like YouTube's a little bit hard because you usually have questions.
Or how.
The how, yeah.
There's a lot of hows that aren't answered.
Yeah, they're like, okay, I see that you do that. I can emulate that and copycat it, but you're not really learning the actual ins and outs of it. I'd say the biggest thing would be find a community. Never stop creating. Never stop making your art, even if it's not what you want at that point in time or at the level that you're at. I made 1,000 really bad tracks before I made anything even good. I played 1,000 bad sets before I even had a good set that went well, you know, like, so it's just practice and repetition and just understanding what you want from it and staying true to that. Because like you can emulate a million other artists and stuff like that, and I can name 10 artists that sound exactly the same, but, you know, at the same time, like, figuring out what you want to do with it and what works for you is probably the best step.
That's definitely well said. And it's funny that you said that you made 1,000 bad songs before you made a good one. And it's like, that's exactly what Thomas Edison did. He made 1,000 different types of light bulbs that didn't work before he found the one.
But also from the community, like he took what was working for other people and what didn't work for other people, and he jumbled those into a bunch of new ideas. Yeah. Nikola Tesla was probably like the biggest influence for like as far as the light bulb was created. You can't have a light bulb without power, right?
Can't argue with Nikola Tesla, but I think it's just there is no easy road to becoming good at anything.
Yeah, it's just,
like it doesn't matter if you're going to be a carpenter, if you're going to be a welder, if you're going to be a musician, you're going to be deep sea diver, like you got to put in hard work
and
to get
experience
anywhere.
those things, like
Yeah.
actually, because you can have
Go fail.
you can have all the knowledge in the world on like surgery and stuff, but if you've never operated on
Yeah.
somebody, I don't know how that's gonna go for you. You know,
Exactly
you need the
right.
practice. You definitely need to get in there and get your hands dirty and like trial yourself, get out of your comfort zone. You know, like when I started making some of the music that I've been making now, like I was just trying new things. I'm like, okay, this makes me really uncomfortable, but I would love to try this. I would love to learn how to do this, you know, and like it worked really well for me. And I'm like, you know, okay, well, this worked out. You know, I'm happy that I did this. Even as like growing as an artist, it's good to get out there and try new things. It's what helps you grow.
No, and that's a good way to end it, I think, because I think we're at our time, which is perfect.
Perfect. Well,
So
thank you so much for having
thank
me.
you for doing this, bro. It's good to sit down again and talk, and we
Yeah.
haven't got to talk for a few years
Yeah,
other
it's
than
been a while.
online because life, but it's
Parenting, life,
yeah, it's
and
good to see how
navigating.
far you guys have both come, which
Yeah.
is nice to see. So we'll catch you guys again next time.